Hello and welcome to Steve's Backyard Bonsai. You know how you always walk through your garden or your greenhouse and you say, oh yeah, I got to do that, or I want to do that, or you have an idea about something. Somebody said something and it clicks in your head and you always want to try it. Well, today's one of those days. But what I want to do today is a moss experiment, another moss experiment. I've done one before. The lawn that I had planted on my Central Park penjing, I planted there. Let me show you it. So the problem that gets me thinking in the first place is, how am I going to maintain this all the time? As you can see on the right-hand side, the hill is higher than I had intended it to be. I wanted there to be a gentle slope, and there was in the beginning. Built it up with muck. I've had no problem with water penetrating down, but the moss is very hard to maintain. So I stripped it away on this side. I put a sand layer down. It's beach sand. What I'm looking for is a substrate that I could put down there that fosters moss growth and something I can maintain. So that's what's been going on in my mind, and I've just been thinking about ways to do it. So today I'm going to get started on how I might be able to do it. Those of you who've watched my channel may know that before I retired, I used to commute to Manhattan on the Long Island Railroad. And while commuting, I would most always be watching bonsai videos. I couldn't get enough. And I knew when I retired, I wanted to work on this kind of stuff and get a little artistic in my old age. So one day I'm listening to Nigel Saunders talking about moss and moss collecting and his theory about why the moss grows where it grows. The silt, I'm putting this off to the side to dry. I had dried this moss and it was fully dried, but then I tried to peel off the back to try and remove this, which is part of my story, and it was just rock hard. I couldn't do it. So that got me to thinking about this episode that I watched where Nigel said the silt is the reason. The silt that collects there is the finest silt, and that's the reason the moss thrives there. And it made sense to me. So what I'm trying to do, I am not only harvesting the moss, but I'm going to harvest the silt that's behind it and see if I can't make a controlled sod situation with moss that I can, have in my greenhouse at all times. It wouldn't go to decorate the landscapes that are true to nature or trying to be true to nature. But the landscapes that are more urban, and I have designs to do more like that in the future, I want to be able to have moss that could be, an open grassy area and look credible. I think moss is the only option for that, and my audience has confirmed that in the comments. But what I'm trying to do is tame it a little bit and make it easier to work with. So once I get that silt separated, and I'm comfortable with it, I'm going to grind it back up into little pieces. I'm going to spread it on some window screen on a tray like this. And then I'm going to put my 50-50 mix of this moss, dried and pulverized, mixed with, I'm going to go a little less than 50% this time because I think 50% sphagnum moss with this substrate might be a little bit much. But I still have to figure that out. I'm going to move along with this, and you'll watch me in fast motion. So here is the moss that I've stripped the silt off the back of. This is something that I've wanted to do for a very, very long time. I think this process also killed the weeds that were in this moss. This was all collected, you know, near in my neighborhood, but you know, wherever I saw a nice moss, I would pick it up, pretend I'm picking up dog poop, and you know, always had a bag in my pocket. Anyway, here's the silt from the back of it. So I'm going to put this stuff off somewhere to dry, and I'll crush it up at a later date. So what I'm going to do now is clean this up and cut a piece of window screen to fit. And the idea is that this is the moss that I would use for areas that I want to be laid out like a lawn. I could remove them when I bring them in the greenhouse in the wintertime and put them in a tray like this and keep them moist. It would still have the backing on it, which I would, the windows, it would still have the window screen on it that I would cut to size. I would cut a piece to shape, to the two shapes that I have in the planting, and grow moss on them. All right, let me get the window screen cut. All right, so I've got the window screen cut and placed in the tray, and the idea will be to smear that silt, which I think I'm going to mix with some akadama dust, and hopefully it will hold down nicely and flat. I'll keep it moist, and this is just an experiment. We'll see how it goes. Let's get on with mixing up that silt with some akadama dust and a little water. All right, so I've got the silt on my turntable for no other reason than I thought this would be a good surface for it. This is the akadama dust that I collected when I made my last soil mix. And I'm just going to sprinkle it on and watch how quickly it absorbs the water from the silt below. Now I'm going to be adding some water back onto this to mix it up and get a very nice consistency that I'm going to spread in that tray on the screen, on the window screen. I hope you'll let me know in the comments whether or not experimenting is something you like, because I'll try to do more of it. And of course, I'll show you the results, whether good or bad, on the channel. All right. Let me start mixing this up with my hands. Let me add a little water to it. I should get a very nice consistency here. Basically, I'm looking to make mud. Very fine, very spreadable mud. I'm sure all the weeds are gone. I did take out whatever roots I saw, and there wasn't many. And it needs a little more water. And I think this is the consistency I'm looking for. This is the silt and a little akadama, giving it a nice chocolate brown. All right, I'm going to spread that on that tray. I have a good fit. I'll do this in little pieces and spread it very thin. This is a lot of fun. Not quite like baking cookies, but a lot of fun. I'll go into fast motion for the spreading of this. All right, it was clear I wasn't going to have enough of that silt to spread around here. So I made myself a mud ball of just akadama, nothing else, to simulate the silt. And I'm just going to place it in place. You'll be able to see the difference just in the color. But I'm hoping the moss can't tell the difference. But that'll be interesting too, if it can tell the difference and grows on one and not the other. Very interesting. Who knows? Who knows? I spread the other as far as I could, and I'll just try and get this to be the same height and consistency. No, it's not the same consistency. I'll try and get it to be the same height. All right. What is an experiment without failures, right? Not that I'm saying this will be a failure. I'm certainly not saying that. But I will let you know if it is. This is a little sticky. I'm a little worried about it. All right, I've got everything basically in the right spot. And I just got to press it into place, and I'll do that a little less tediously for you, the viewers. Well, there it is. Trust me, it's a little cake with a screen on the bottom. The different colors are the akadama and then the akadama mixed with the silt that was on the back of the moss that I had collected. That's the end of part 1 of my moss cultivation experiment. Part 2 will be after I've pulverized the dried moss and mixed it with some dried sphagnum moss, also pulverized. And then I'll sprinkle it on top of this, and that'll be part 2. Parts 3, 4, 5, and 6 will be as I show it to you in updates throughout the season. Or it may just be part 3, this thing was a failure, and I'll let you know. Thanks for keeping me company in my backyard.